There is a moment you have probably lived more than once. You are in a conversation with a woman. Everything seems to be going well. She is smiling. She is engaged. And then somehow, almost invisibly, the energy shifts. She pulls back slightly. The warmth fades. You replay the conversation in your head, trying to figure out what went wrong, and you cannot find it. You were polite. You were attentive. You said the right things. And yet something was missing. That feeling of almost connecting, almost being the man she leans toward, is one of the most quietly frustrating experiences a man can have. And what makes it worse is that nobody ever really explains what that missing element actually is. Most men assume attraction is about looks or money, or saying the perfect line at the perfect moment. But the men who consistently make women feel drawn to them are not necessarily the most handsome or the wealthiest in the room. They carry something else, a presence, a way of being, and when you understand what that actually looks like in behavior, everything starts to make sense. If you want to keep understanding the real psychology behind attraction and social dynamics, consider subscribing to this channel. Every video is designed to help you see these patterns clearly, so you can navigate relationships and interactions with more confidence and awareness. Now let us get into it. The first behavior that creates instant attraction is the ability to be fully present without needing anything back. Most men, when they talk to a woman they find attractive, are subtly performing. They are monitoring her reactions, adjusting their words, waiting for signs of approval. And women feel this, not because they are trying to analyze you, but because the human nervous system is extraordinarily sensitive to whether someone is genuinely there or whether they are managing an impression. When a man is truly present, not thinking about what to say next, not scanning for validation, simply engaged in the moment without agenda, it creates a feeling in the other person that is rare and magnetic. It communicates security. It says, I do not need this conversation to go a certain way. I am just here. That quality alone separates most men from the ones women find genuinely compelling. The second behavior is comfort with silence and emotional stillness. Many men panic in silence. They rush to fill every pause, to keep the energy high, to prevent any moment of quiet from suggesting discomfort. But silence handled well is one of the most powerful tools in human connection. A man who can sit in a moment of quiet without tension, who can let a thought breathe, who does not nervously ramble to cover emptiness, communicates emotional depth. Women interpret this unconsciously as a sign of inner security. It suggests that this person does not need constant reassurance from the environment. He is not anxious, he is grounded. And groundedness, more than almost anything else, creates a sense of safety that draws people in. The third behavior is having a perspective and being willing to hold it. There is a pattern that many men fall into when they want to be liked. They agree. They mirror. They soften their opinions the moment they sense the other person might not share them. And while this might seem harmless or even considerate, it actually creates distance rather than connection. When a man has a clear perspective and expresses it calmly without apology, when he respectfully disagrees or offers a viewpoint that is genuinely his own, it creates something women rarely experience in men who are trying to attract them. It creates the feeling of encountering a real person, not a reflection, not someone performing likability, a man with his own inner world. That realness is inherently attractive because it signals that his approval, when it comes, actually means something. Before we continue, I want to ask you something directly. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like you did everything right and still somehow became invisible to a woman you were genuinely interested in? That quiet confusion of trying hard and still not landing. Have you felt that? If this resonates with you, drop a comment below. You can simply write, I have felt this, and that is enough. You might be surprised how many men reading those words will feel less alone in that experience. Sharing that moment honestly can remind someone else that this confusion is not a personal failure. It is something almost every man navigates at some point. The fourth behavior is speaking less and meaning more. There is a certain type of man who talks constantly when he is nervous or when he wants to impress. He tells long stories, he fills every space, he makes sure his presence is known through volume. And there is another type of man who speaks with intention. He chooses his words. He pauses before answering. He does not speak to fill silence, but to actually communicate something. Women are far more drawn to the second type, not because quiet men are mysterious in some theatrical sense, but because measured speech communicates that the man respects both his own words and the attention of the person he is speaking to. It shows discipline over impulse. It shows that he is not speaking out of anxiety, but out of genuine thought. That quality creates weight. When he does speak, she listens differently. The fifth behavior is leading small moments without needing permission. This is one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction. Leadership in the context of daily interaction does not mean being aggressive or controlling. It means being the person who makes a decision when a decision needs to be made. It means suggesting where to go instead of endlessly asking what she prefers. It means moving the interaction forward with quiet confidence instead of waiting to be directed. Women who describe men they felt instantly drawn to almost always mention this quality without realizing it. He just knew what he wanted. He was not pushy, but he was clear. That clarity removes a psychological burden that most people carry in social interactions, which is the burden of figuring out what is happening next. When a man removes that burden gently and confidently, it creates relief, and relief transforms very quickly into attraction. The sixth behavior is the one most men overlook entirely. It is the ability to make a woman feel seen without making her feel studied. There is a difference between observing someone with genuine curiosity and observing them in a way that feels evaluating or transactional. When a man pays attention to the small things, remembers something she mentioned earlier in the conversation, notices something specific about the way she thinks rather than just the way she looks, and reflects that back to her in a natural way, it creates an experience that most women rarely have. The experience of being genuinely noticed, not complimented in a rehearsed way, not flattered for the sake of gaining something, simply seen. That experience is disarming in the best possible way. It bypasses the usual social defenses because it does not feel like a tactic. It feels like connection. What ties all of these behaviors together is not technique. It is the underlying state they come from. A man who is fully present, emotionally still, clear in his perspective, intentional with his words, quietly decisive and genuinely curious about others, is not performing attraction strategies. He is simply a man who has a stable relationship with himself. And that stability is what women feel when they feel drawn to someone without being able to fully explain why. They feel the absence of anxiety. They feel the presence of someone who does not need the interaction to validate him. And that is the rarest quality in any social environment. Most men spend years trying to figure out what to say, what to wear, what moves to make. But the shift that actually changes how people respond to you is internal. It is the shift from needing the interaction to go well to simply being someone worth being around. The behaviors we discussed today are not tricks. They are the natural expressions of a man who is at ease with himself and genuinely engaged with the world around him. The next time you are in a conversation with a woman you find interesting, instead of monitoring her reactions and searching for approval, try something different. Simply be where you are. Let your perspective be real. Let your words carry weight. Move the interaction forward when it needs direction, and pay attention to her as a person, not as a goal. You will notice the difference not just in how she responds, but in how you feel inside that conversation. Calmer, more present, more yourself. That is the foundation everything else is built on. Keep watching, keep observing, and keep sharpening your understanding of how human behavior actually works. There is always more to discover.